This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of DocNJock. I am the Doc, John Macron. Joining me, my newly minted rich cousin, Adam, the Jock Strozinski, putting on a suit, walking into the boardroom, making things happen. Bro, can I get a loan?
I mean, I can take care of a loan for you, or I can at least hook you up and get you a deal on a loan. But don't make it sound like I've got some glamorous job here. I'll be honest with you. I'm so bored all day long. Like, the business world, it's everything that I dread. It's brutal, man. This is only I think it's like my third day at the new job, maybe fourth day at the new job. I don't even know. The days have dragged by so damn slow. It's like I'm lost in a desert somewhere. I'm so used to like being up and being active and then just kind of being out there and being loud. And then I just go and I sit in a cube and do mortgages. It's weird, man. It's totally different. It's a completely different world that I have not been in since, I realized it today, since about 2003. Oh. It's been that long since I've had a job like this.
17 years where you weren't active and doing something or having like multiple things going on at the same time. It's an adjustment. Yep. And number one thing, man, just put your nose to the grindstone and get through each day. That's it. Make your goals and hit them, baby. That's all you can do.
Nuts, man. I mean, that's it. In the long run, this will probably be the best move for me because you can't get a radio station around here to give a young, talented person any sort of opportunity. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why we made this. That's why we did this. So this is probably the best thing for me long term, but it's going to be a difficult adjustment for your boy. That's for sure.
Yeah. Waking up, putting on that collared shirt, got to wake up on time, show up on time, and you got to, deal with the customers. That's the number one thing. And you'll do fine. Anything you put your mind to, you'll be fine. And it'll open up a lot of opportunity when you start doing them and it rolls in, and the success that you'll have, it'll be all good. Right?
I mean, I hope so. That's the plan, right? That's the game plan.
That's the game
success.
Plan.
It's all about success. That's what we want the Lions to have. That's what we're about to talk about here. That's why their game plan is taking so damn long.
Did you sit and watch 3 football games on Saturday and 3 on Sunday? I absorbed it all, and it was fun. Part of it was done at work. Part of it was done at home. I was like, do this forever. I'm shocked. I literally shocked. The ratings were bad because of the fact, I guess they said that hardcore fans obviously are going to watch it, but obviously the things going on in Washington, the world, people did not tune in, and the ratings dropped from a year ago. So that's not a good sign for the future of Super Wild Card Weekend, but I loved it. It was football on all day long, 10 hours a day. The only game that sucked was the Chicago Bears game, but watching it on Nickelodeon made it fun because they just made an absolute absurdity of a broadcast. So that was fun.
Did you watch that game with the kids, with the girls?
Yeah, absolutely.
You did?
We put
Did
it
they
on
love it?
Slime Zone. They got to see the kid talking about it. It made it so that they understood things. Of course, it was the perfect opportunity
awesome.
So to get it on TV where the kids are not saying, can we put on something else? And things like that. So absolutely, home run for CBS and Nickelodeon for doing that. Absolutely the right thing for the NFL to try and open up new markets. They have to, because the fans that are wise are just sitting on their phone, twiddling away and periodically looking up. There's not the days of hardcore people watching the NFL might be diminishing because it's so true. The phone, the appeal of just, doing TikToks and chatting away or sliding into someone's DM or doing what you got to do or buying something on Amazon is way more appealing than sitting down and breaking down the NFL. So it was absolutely perfect. But because obviously the talk that everybody saw was the absolute destruction and beatdown that the Cleveland Browns put on the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was shocking. Right from the first snap, obviously Pouncey makes a huge mistake, and it gives the Cleveland Browns an early 7-0 lead, 28-0 after the first quarter. It was a beatdown, and boy, was I sitting there going, man, is this ever going to happen for the Lions? Just one single playoff win? I sat there supremely jealous, and it was right at the end of a long weekend. But boy, could you imagine if things happen like that for the Lions? It just stinks in that we're still twiddling our thumbs trying to figure out how to get back to square one.
I mean, it was a crazy game. That's for damn sure. I think wrapped up in all of it, if you are a Lions fan, you should be excited because the Browns were basically your kinship. The Browns were your sister. They were the ugly girl at the ball alongside you. And you know what? The ugly fat girl who couldn't get a date to go to the prom, she's now dancing. She's romancing. She all of a sudden got her titties done. She lost a little bit of weight. She started a Zumba class. She looks great. She got a tan. She got some hair extensions. She's got some eyebrows in, and she found some makeup. She looks beautiful right now. That's what the Browns are. If you're the Detroit Lions, you should be excited because if the Browns can do it, and you've always, as a Lions fan, compared yourself to the Browns. At least we're not as bad as the Browns. At least we don't suck as bad as the Browns. Hey, at least we're not the Browns. Guess what? Browns done something you haven't done in a long, long, long time. If the Browns can do it, you should be excited. I think there's a possibility that Detroit could do it, John. I think there's a possibility that Detroit could be that young startup team like the Browns. And look, it didn't happen overnight for Cleveland. It didn't. But I think in the pudding, when you look at all of it, when you look at how the fat, ugly girl at the dance became the beautiful swan with the nice boobies and the fat ass, I think there is a little bit of a formula here that the Lions should maybe learn from. And I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for them, at least this season, because they just don't have the draft capital that the Browns had a couple of years ago, where you can just go in and you could just start making different picks and having these guys kind of turn around and really transform your organization. But I think it starts with finding that young quarterback, finding that guy who's going to be your franchise player, having him become the face of your organization and really take it all on. I mean, you look at Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is a guy who is polarizing. He's a guy who, when he was drafted, I love Baker Mayfield. All right, I just want to get this out of the way right now. I love him. He is everything that I would aspire to be if I was an athlete. He's brash. He's cocky. He will tell you to shove it, and then he will go out there and explain how he's going to make you shove it. It's great. From getting into feuds with Colin Cowherd to grabbing his crotch and giving throat slashes and just making bad off-field decisions to then becoming the face of Home Depot and Hulu. This is a guy who the Cleveland organization went out and said, you know what, that's our guy. When he was drafted first overall, I was like, holy hell. I was like, that was a risk. That was a really good quarterbacks class that year. And I was like, holy shit, this guy, they're going this way with it. I was like, Cleveland, this is nuts. Like, that was not the guy. Like, I liked it, but that was not the guy who I probably would have went with as my first overall pick. Yet they did. And they leaned into everything that he brought to the table, and they embraced it.
Okay, because I want to tell you something. Here's the part where I'm a little bit, my expectations and my excitement is tapered, and I can take it into this too. The Lions are similar to the Pistons in that they don't want to embrace a rebuild. You're hearing whispers, and by all accounts, there is no realistic talk that Matthew Stafford is going to be gone. He's going to be back, and yeah, you could draft a quarterback.
But here's the thing. I'm going to pause you here real quick. I'm going to let you go on. I don't think anybody in that organization right now has the right to make that decision. You don't have a general manager yet. That should be the call for the next GM. If the owner comes out and says, hey, look, we're keeping Matt Stafford and our boat's attached to him. If you're the general manager, why the hell do you want this job? You're coming in already with a decree from ownership. You don't want this job. You want to come in and you want to take over an organization and do what you feel is best. I think if you do that as a franchise and as an organization, you say, hey, we're keeping Matt Stafford. We're not embracing a rebuild. We're going full throttle. We think we have a good team. If you come out and say that, I think that tells your general manager, and I think that tells the rest of the league what you're going to do. That was the one thing Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia did that was so poor. They would always tip their hand, especially right before the draft.
Yeah, but there are no...
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, perfect point. There's no signs, though, that general managers across the league, it just seems like everywhere you turn, everyone's ranting and raving about how awesome Stafford is. The cap situation puts Detroit in a tough situation. Maybe you do draft his replacement and you start that clock, because after 2021, it's just real easy to do it. But my thinking is that you need the general manager to come in to trade Stafford to potentially Washington, the Colts, the New England Patriots for the 14th or 15th pick in the first round. You need somebody to make something happen, And by all accounts, I know that the general manager, I just have a hunch that the general manager knows that in order to get the job, to get ahead, the thing you got to say is, I love Matthew Stafford. How do you not walk into this organization knowing that this guy is bent over backwards, played hurt, done all the things, and then you're going to say to them, you're going to look Chris Spielman in the eye and say, we got to trade him? The only thing that I wish was, I want to read you this quote, and I so wish that the words came out of Matthew Stafford's mouth. Look at this quote from a professional athlete that was said this week. Quote, "We're just not good enough. Chemistry, talent-wise, everything. I love this city. I literally have done everything that I can. This situation is crazy, but it's something that I don't think you can fix." End quote. And that was from James Harden. And boom, got his ass traded. Just like that. That's what we need from Matthew Stafford, is to come out and make our jobs a little bit easier. Open your mouth, speak up, say those words. Beautiful words from James Harden. I was almost hearing it, just wishing that Matthew Stafford would have said it. And then you can start the process of breaking this up. Stafford, unless he comes out and says anything, is going to be a member of this roster. And I just don't believe that any general manager that's going to be hired is going to have the balls to do it. I want to see it. Maybe I'm setting the expectation low so that when I see it, I'll jump for joy. But do you see what James Harden did? Got his ass traded within 24 hours of making beautiful comments to say, hey, it ain't working here. This sucks. We're way under 500. I'm not going to see anything. Boom, boom. He goes now to a super team. And it would help the Lions. You would get the draft pick and potentially have the opportunity to improve your draft capital, and it would make things so much better. So you could start to get your Baker Mayfield, to get your guy. Look how they built. They got a running game. They got a defense. Dude, their coach wasn't even there. Half the world bet against them because their coach was laid up in his basement, and the Browns dominated. Dude, that was something of beauty that we all wish we could see the Lions go to Green Bay and trounce. But I will ask you, if the Lions were, and I put on Twitter, it was a real interesting at Detroit podcast, because I think I thought differently than our supporters. I would like a close overtime game than a beatdown. You're going to get the win no matter what. But if the Lions get to the postseason and we're guaranteed the win, I want to see a back and forth nail biter where we're like, no, we're going to lose. Oh, the quarterback gets us back. Oh, we get to overtime. Boom. Then we get the win in overtime. I think the elation, it would be great for a quarter if you dominate the Packers 28-0 in the first quarter, but the elation would be awesome to get that last second win, was my opinion.
As a Detroit fan, I want the beatdown.
Yeah,
I want them to stomp them out, because look, man, think about how much we've gone through. Think about how much heartbreak you've gone through. I remember when the Lions beat the San Diego Chargers to get to the playoffs. I remember being so excited on Christmas Eve. I ended up going to your mother-in-law's house later on that evening, and I just hugged you, and I was so pumped. And me and you were so excited because we got to actually go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I could just imagine being like the Browns fans, where they're watching just this orange and brown train just run over black and yellow. I would love a beatdown. It would just alleviate so much stress for me, and it would make me so damn excited. I mean, I get a lot of what you're saying, right? As far as this organization goes, and as far as Matt Stafford goes, and him not being the guy like James Harden, where he's going to come out and say, hey, it's just not working, you need to trade me. Matt Stafford's not going to do that. He's not built like that. Matt Stafford has had numerous times to voice his opinion, to really cause a little bit of change for good for this organization, but he doesn't. He's a good little soldier. He falls in line. Whatever the coach says goes. Whatever the organization wants him to say goes. He's basically a puppet. He is like, I don't know, the Muppet Babies, man. Basically, he's missing Jim Henson's hand up his ass to make him talk. He is a guy who will never, ever, ever be that guy that we all want him to be, where he comes out and he forces ownership's hand to do something, do anything. It doesn't even matter. If it's forcing their hand to trade you, we don't care. Just show that you have a heartbeat. Show that you have a pulse.
Yeah,
we get
something.
that you are tough as hell. We get it. We all understand it. We've seen you play with a broken collarbone. We've seen you go out there and play with a broken back. We've seen you throw touchdowns with mangled fingers and hands. We get it. We get it. And we all appreciate it. But you don't force anything for good of the organization. You don't come out and you don't force change. And Matthew Stafford, out of everybody in that locker room, he carries probably the biggest stick, and he could speak the softest. But Matthew Stafford doesn't say a word. He is as quiet as a church mouse, and he will never, ever, ever say anything about this organization. He could get traded to arguably the worst team in the league. He get traded to Jacksonville, right? Jacksonville is only a little bit worse than you, but he could get traded to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a pretty dysfunctional organization if you look at what's going on with Shad Khan, all right? And I know Shad Khan does a whole lot for this area, but he's not a great NFL owner, all right? And we both love Tony Khan because of what he gives us for wrestling, but they're not great NFL owners. He could get traded to Jacksonville. And on his way out the door, he would praise this organization. He would praise Sheila. He would praise everybody, and he would take his lumps, and he would just take it.
Absolutely.
Because he's that kind of guy. We need somebody who's a ball buster, a guy with a little bit of attitude, a guy who has that little bit of grit that when he gets rubbed a little bit wrong, he's going to tell you what's up. That's not Matt Stafford. He's not that guy. And it's frustrating. And I think that's part of the reason why this organization has taken its sweet-ass time to make this decision and finding whoever that next GM is going to be and for making that decision for whoever that head coach is going to be. You know, I think it all comes down to what this organization is at its core and then what it has for its player, for its franchise guy. I don't think you can find a more symbiotic relationship between a franchise player in an organization than you will find with the Detroit Lions and Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, the loyalty that he has showed, the patience. I just think that all you can do is hope that he takes the time to reflect away from it and says, just get me out of here. It would help everything tremendously to kickstart the rebuild top to bottom. Speaking of the rebuild, you do still have to hire the general manager and head coach. Brad Holmes getting a lot of love. If you read in the papers, getting compared to Ozzie Newsome, an individual that has been with the Rams for 18 years, getting credit for Aaron Donald, the success now that you start to see in terms of the players that he's drafted have actually played and performed. So the name I like, I'm not opposed to it, but of course, all you haters out there in Twitterland, you're so wise and you just got to throw in the digs when we put our articles. They said that they're getting anxiety that potentially Holmes reminds them of Bob Quinn, an individual that's been with their organization forever, drafted good people, but never really was the general manager, never really had the bottom line. And so Les Snead is a general manager at the Rams, so it would be a first-time hire. It would be somebody that's never done this before. And with that, those that are speculating are obviously looking to say, well, you did say one of the two should have experience, because if you don't, if you go with a first-time GM and a first-time coach, you're going to give everybody post-traumatic stress because it's going to be the same thing with Patricia and Quinn. So then that opens the door to a bunch of nightmares, which nobody wants, in that nobody wants to see Bevel, Todd Bowles, Marvin Lewis. Nobody wants to see head coaches that have been here that are considered less than stellar. So I'm thinking potentially, I know it's tough. My winning combination is Ed Dodds and Saleh. It's not looking good because you're hearing reports that Arthur Smith will get the second interview Friday in terms of the head coach. A couple other candidates are being looked at, obviously, for general manager. But if Ed Dodds is hired, that opens the doorway to Saleh, which would be really good. But I have this nagging bad feeling that potentially this weekend you could be hearing Holmes and Darrell Bevell. It's picking up steam in that this is somebody that has had players go to management and say, hey, this is the culture we want. This is the thing we need. This is somebody, and that would also satisfy Matthew Stafford. So if you're looking on the panic train, look to Holmes Bevell or Holmes Marvin Lewis, because experience matters, and many people would. And like we said last week, I would be okay if it signaled a rebuild and you tore it down and Bevel's the guy that kind of start the process. I'm okay with it. But man, I'm high on Dodds and Saleh. I just have that feeling like that combination would work well together. And then on a side note, if it doesn't work with Saleh, and look, obviously there's a Lebanese tie there and I play it up, but here's the other thing too, guys. Read between the lines. Read every tweet we post, not just the ones where I'm pro-Lebanese. That's the fun I get to have with this. He would bring LaFleur here. The genes of the guy that's won 13 games in Green Bay, your competitor, his brother. He will bring a beautiful offense, a young, aggressive offensive coordinator. You get that with Saleh. How does that, like, okay, you get Saleh, you don't like it, it goes sour in 3 years. You now have the offense in place and you got the young genius that probably will do a great job. You don't think LaFleur is going to do everything possible to have an offense that's going to be stellar and do a good job? His brother did. His brother's offense is cruising, and he did it with Aaron Rodgers, who was pissed off, who didn't get a first-round wide receiver. It would be amazing. Read between the lines. Saleh would be great to help the defense and to build the culture, but you could also get a young, hot offensive mind that would do so many great things. So I don't know. I just feel like it could happen, but I feel like as we progress, I'm not as worried about the timing of all this because these contracts take time. They move slowly. There's a bunch of jobs still open. None of these are filled. Like Saleh's doing the celebrity tour here. He's going to the Jets, going to the Eagles, checking everything out, interviewed with Detroit. The part that sucks is we would all like it in fantasy land where it's like Saleh comes, boom, the next day he's hired. But it doesn't work like that because you got to do contracts. You want to do due diligence. So all these teams kind of are in the same boat. I don't fear as much and panic like the Lions fans are. The biggest panic is, oh my God, we're not going to get the guy. Guys, Chris Spielman is a calm, cool, collected dude. You're going to get the person that you want because you'll offer him the deal and you'll get 5 or 6 years. It'll work. The issue is, do you get the right guy? And the skepticism is rising as this progresses because you're hearing names like Brad Holmes. And
well, here's the thing. Let me pump the brakes on you with Brad Holmes real quick.
Yeah.
So the difference between Brad Holmes and Bob Quinn, it's not just at the skin level, okay? Because obviously Brad Holmes is African American, while Bob Quinn is as white as a saltine cracker here. All right. Bob Quinn was the director of pro scouting, which means he's out there basically looking at
the players,
free agents,
yep.
And he's looking at guys who have already been established in the league. That's what a director of pro scouting does. Now, Brad Holmes, on the other hand, is something that I think all Lions fans want.
Yes.
He is the director of college scouting. He's the guy who has essentially handled every draft for the Rams since he's been put in that position. So this is a guy who understands what young talent is, understands how to conduct a draft, understands what is needed for a draft. I think we all can agree that Bob Quinn had a lot of swings and misses with his draft. Okay, he had some okay picks, but he had a lot of really questionable ones that just weren't great. Brad Holmes is a little bit different. And if you go through who Brad Holmes gets credit for, I mean, you named it yourself. A guy like Aaron Donald, I mean, say no more. Arguably the best inside, outside defensive tackle in the league, the sack master himself, Aaron Donald. This is a guy who's getting credit for that. I mean, look at what this Rams team has been able to do. They lose their quarterback in Jared Goff, right? They go out and they have to bring in some other guy who is, well, I think he played, in the CFL? He was a guy who basically helped them get. Now, I give a lot of credit to McVay because that offense protected them, but was able to get them into the playoffs without their starting quarterback. Could you ever imagine a day where the Detroit Lions are in a position to make it to the playoffs and Matt Stafford can't go because he's got a broken finger? Could you ever imagine? And who are they going to turn to? Chase Daniels. And you've seen how this plays out. It's not good. Chase Daniels is essentially rolling a trash can that has been set on fire with cow manure spilling over the top of it out there. It's not good. It's a bad look. But Brad Holmes in this front office has the foresight enough to be able to get guys, put them in place, and have enough depth on a roster where you can sustain injuries like this. You can sustain problems like this and still move forward. Now, look, Brad Holmes isn't number one on my list. I'm just telling you, I'm playing devil's advocate here, and I'm telling you to pump the brakes a little bit. I don't think we should get super riled up about who Brad Holmes is. It's not been made official yet, and you're right. When they go out there to find their guy that they want, they'll get their guy. There's only 32 of these positions in the league. So, I mean, when you make an offer to a guy, that guy usually takes it. It just comes down to usually the finances of it all. But if it's Brad Holmes, I don't think you should be all that nervous. And I think the way that they've conducted this search, I think we should really be giving them some kudos here. Me and you are very, very harsh on this organization, as they deserve it. This organization is absolutely god-awful in many, many respects. But what I can say is Sheila, since she's taken over, has conducted herself like an owner who legitimately wants to win and who cares about winning. From the moment she has taken over now, look, I give her a lot of demerits in the Cons lineup because she was part of the reason that Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia were brought back. But when she realized it wasn't working out and the product wasn't up to her standard, she immediately fired both of these guys. That was something I didn't think was going to happen. I thought we were stuck with these guys for at least 1 more, maybe 2 more years. She broomed them out. She then went into, we need to find a new GM, we need to find a head coach. All right. And you're right. That memo gets released where it basically talks about how this organization wants to bring in somebody with head coaching and GM experience. That becomes a little bit rough this day and age, okay? If you can go out there and you can find the right guy, the guy who's going to reinvigorate this culture here, reshape it, make it better, and look at the way she's kind of went about doing it. She went and got a guy like Chris Spielman. This is a guy who we both have a lot of respect for. This is a guy who has been around the league, knows what it takes, and she's put him in a position of power where he makes a lot of decisions with this organization. We both do not like Rod Wood. We both think Rod Wood is basically a pencil sharpener on a desk, cashing a check. He's just kind of there. You rarely ever need to use him, but he's in a position of power where he can make a lot of decisions and do a lot of things. But Chris Spielman, I think, is the gatekeeper of all of it. And I think the way they've gone about this search, yes, it's taken some time. Yes, they've lost a couple of candidates. They've lost the assistant general manager of Minnesota to Denver. All right, and that was a guy who I think they were very, very high on. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But again, they are a organization that is doing their due diligence, taking their time, and they are bringing in the people that they feel is going to make a difference going forward. I think you can already see things are going to be a little bit different. Now, again, the question is, do they get the right pick? What I will tell you is if they don't get the right pick, it's not for a lack of trying. And if they don't get the right pick, I'll tell you this much. I don't think Sheila will be so beholden to whomever it is as the general manager and whomever it is as the head coach. I think they are operating with a shorter leash than, say, Mr. Ford and, say, Martha has given everybody else who has predecessed them. So I don't think you need to be nervous. I think the way this is going, I think we need to pat the Detroit Lions on the back, and that takes a lot. It takes a lot for me to say because I usually want to bury this organization. I want to bludgeon it over the head with a shovel, and then I usually want to dig them about 8 feet deep so I can make sure that they're 2 feet deeper than a dead body.
Yeah, see, listen.
All right?
Listen
but
to this.
This organization, I think we need to give them kudos right now.
See, just to reiterate my point, going back to Stafford, Barry Sanders went on Sirius XM on Wednesday and said that by all accounts, the organization is working under the notion that Matthew Stafford's coming back. That's what he said, that he's completely prepared and wants to come back. The man will not detach. The rebuild's going to take forever, and every general manager knows it, and that's why it's going to take forever. But Arthur
Don't
Smith,
believe what the hell Barry Sanders says. If Barry Sanders comes out there and says something about what this organization wants to do, let's give Barry Sanders some credit. He's a pretty smart guy, right?
Yeah, he should say that.
So if he comes out and says, you know what, they're looking to move away from Matt Stafford, it doesn't do any good because, again, it spoils what's going on with the general manager. It spoils what they're going to do with the draft. It spoils a lot of things. You can't say a lot of things. You just got to kind of keep status quo what status quo is.
Arthur Smith getting the next interview on Friday. Real interesting in that the Titans offense kind of stagnated a little bit. You didn't make the move. You didn't make the key fourth down call. I don't know if it's the head coach, Arthur Smith, however that worked out. He's the hot name. He's the individual that's going to get a lot of attention. Not so certain. I mean, can he turn DeAndre Swift into a similar player like Derrick Henry? He probably might need another back, but his offense, you know, he's getting credit for turning Tannehill around. I'm okay with it.
Give him credit for what he's done with Ryan Tannehill. Do you realize Ryan Tannehill was a former wide receiver who became quarterback, who went to Miami? They didn't want him. And then Tennessee was like, you know what? We see something, and let's trade for him. Let's get him here. And the guy's won more playoff games than your organization has since 1991.
Yep. So power rank for me. Who do you like? Who are your top 2 candidates for head coach and GM that you think, okay, 1, 2, you'd be okay with? And tell me your, oh, my God, Lions did this. Let's celebrate higher.
I think my oh my God, let's celebrate higher would probably be Dodds and Saleh.
Yes.
I think I'm in lockstep with you there. I don't mind Brad Holmes. I like him, and I like Arthur Smith right now, just because of what he was able to do with Ryan Tannehill. Here's a question for you: do you bring in a guy like Doug Peterson, a guy who has won a championship, a guy who
that's
just recently got fired from Philly?
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Here's the problem, though, and it sucks if you're Doug Peterson because everyone's giving the love to Frank Reich. They're like, oh, Frank Reich left, your offense sucks. So there's a problem in that. I mean, it's a good problem to have in that you had Frank Reich on your staff. That means you can target good staffers. But here's the problem. You had a big problem in regards to the quarterback. Obviously, you win a Super Bowl and 3 years later, you're gone. That lends to a problem in terms of how you relate to people because that should be a job for life. You couldn't keep that success. Some of the decisions went south. So I'm leery. I'm leery because I think it's Frank Reich. I don't think it's Peterson that gets the love.
Here's the thing with Doug Peterson. I think part of his issue in Philly, him benching Jalen Hurts in a game that they were on the verge of winning.
Yeah.
I think he lost that locker room by doing that, and it's hard to bring a head coach back when the locker room has turned on him. In the first moment that something goes a little bit sideways, that organization, that team is checking out on him, and it's going to be a long, long season. So you just kind of nip it in the bud now. You move on from him. The thing is, what Doug Peterson did helps that organization. Him tanking that game puts them in better position for the draft. You weren't winning anything this year. You weren't doing a damn thing this year. You were possibly moving on from Carson Wentz, which sucks as far as a cap hit goes, but you were going to get at least a couple first-round draft picks back in return because I don't think you're taking anything less for him. On top of that, you've got the 6th overall pick in the draft. There's a ton you can do with that, whether it's moving back or whether it's adding a high-caliber piece to your team. I think what Doug Peterson did as a head coach really set this organization up for future success.
Because
so you can condemn Doug Peterson all you want, but I think what he did, I think it was great for that team. Now, I think he lost his locker room, but I think it was great for that team.
But here's the problem. I mean, I don't believe in people going rogue with that high frequency of regularity. You think he acted in a manner that the owner didn't know about? I mean, it makes sense to say, look, because here's the thing, too. Look at reports. The players, they could be lying, but they came out and said, Doug Peterson told us in the week that this quarterback is going to play. This third stringer is going to get into this game. So where does that come from? How does Doug Peterson not know to talk to his owner to collaborate? Maybe he didn't want to do it, and he was told to, and he said, look, I'm pissed off. I think he lost the respect of the organization because he got told to do that. And then because you hear things that after the firing that he got tired of being told what to do. So I think it was mutual that potentially the losing season and just the voice in the room or things like that got to everybody. But I don't think he went rogue. You don't just do that. I think it was done with at least the known situation that your owner told you to do it. Maybe you didn't want to do it and you're upset about it. But I would not have a problem if they hired Peterson. I just would be skeptical of could he repeat that level of success? Because obviously you didn't handle the quarterback situation right. You lost, respective management. And I think that the real genius is the one coaching with the Colts. So I don't think Peterson's going to get that opportunity. I think he's going to probably need to take some time off to debrief of whatever happened there. So it's interesting. It's going to come fast because pay attention this weekend.
Oh yeah,
I think the GM and the GM and head coach is going to start rolling right in the middle of this month. It's going to be good.
With the way this organization does things, it'll be one of those things that's announced at 4 p.m. on a Friday.
That would suck. It would be bad.
Just how they do it.
It'd be bad because I think look to Monday or Tuesday because you like to set up press conferences, right? Maybe even on a Sunday. Probably Sunday, Sunday 7:00. Oh, who'll get it first? You think it'll be Schefter or Rap Sheet? Who do you think gets it? Rappaport or Schefter? Who gets it?
Schefter.
This one's Schefter.
Yeah, Schefter for sure. Here's the thing. This is my oh my god, I can't believe they did it, and I'm gonna punch a wall. If they go out and they bring in Scott Pioli, who I don't really care for, and they bring in Todd Bowles, who I'm I don't know if Todd Bowles was that bad or if it was just a Jets thing, but those would be the two that I'm just no, hard no.
Oh, man. And always something with the Lions, man, but it's going to come fast and furious. All the stuff. Make sure you stay tuned to Detroit Sports Podcast. SI All Lions will be all over it, bringing down the rumors, the facts, the entertainment, the columns. It's all there, and you guys are absorbing it, and we greatly appreciate you guys putting us in the mix. Stay tuned to all the podcasts. Every single one has a unique look at everything going on. We get the insiders. Make sure you definitely pay attention to Noah's open mic night. He brings in great guests, former Lions, and does great analysis of the Detroit Lions every single Tuesday on open mic night, especially the practice squad too. My goodness, you guys are debating. I like that show because you guys ferociously debate different things, and your reaction to B's takes are hilarious, and that's why I love being part of the network. To just sit back and listen to you guys rant and rave and do your thing is real fun. So make sure you tune in, subscribe to the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Now, before we go negative again, because we all saw on Monday night what greatness looks like, and we're left with Michigan and Ohio State, let's just take 90 seconds, because I don't want to spend too much time talking about Michigan in a positive light. Juwan Howard is doing amazing things with Michigan basketball, and for those of you that aren't appreciating it, you darn well should, because the man is producing talent. They're playing hard, and when you have a run like they had against Wisconsin, it raises your eyebrows. My girls learned that, Michigan is the yellow team, and they were beaten down. They're like, what's going on? Why is the Michigan team winning so much? And I had to tell them that, Michigan plays well, and they learn now the concept that a basket's 2 points. They don't know about the three-pointer yet, and thank goodness, because Michigan, holy cow, against Wisconsin, that was eye-opening. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they can beat Gonzaga and they can be at the top, but I could at least open the door that this team could be a Final Four team. But you still got to play, into February, into March. And unfortunately, in the world we live in, you might be, unfortunately, victims of bad luck, because there might not even be a tournament if the virus doesn't get under control. So pump the brakes, enjoy the ride. Juwan Howard's bringing in people. And obviously, you guys it's an indictment on Jeff Jackson that you bring in a better point guard that can score. And look, the offense looks like way better. So Juwan Howard, all right, I'll give you more than 90 seconds. Props to you. You're doing a lot better. Things at Michigan State, not exactly where we need it to be, but if Aaron Henry can be that star and carry a team, it's looking good. But give credit to Juwan Howard.
You're such a salty hater.
Juwan Howard.
Give him all the credit in the world, man. That team's undefeated right now. They just took down Wisconsin. They look great right now. On top of that, he's bringing in the number one overall recruiting class. He's doing things. He's making moves. If you're a Michigan fan, you did not, I don't care what you say, you did not expect Juwan Howard to come in and have this kind of success this early, especially when earlier in the season you had players like I can't remember his name right now. Him and Juwan Howard getting into arguments during timeouts and breaks and getting pissed off at each other. You did not expect this season to go this way. Come on, man. This is great. If you're a Michigan fan right now, enjoy basketball, because the football team sucks.
Oh,
we're about to talk about that in a second.
Yeah, you're so invested you don't even know who's fighting who. It's Isaiah Livers.
There you go. Thank you. I couldn't remember off the top of my head. Come on.
Yeah,
I didn't even know we were going in this direction. This was a complete and utter surprise to me.
Well, because
and you're right. It was Isaiah Livers. My bad.
It's okay, because that's the only guy I know besides some guy named Dickinson and the brother Wagner. That's about it. And I know the coaching staff with Sadie Washington is really up and coming. So we'll get into it. Obviously, we'll pay more attention. They've opened the eyes when they're undefeated, top 10 in the country. Obviously, we're all paying attention to it. I'm not going to, shine the light on it just yet. But, hey, it's a top 10 win. 3 consecutive top 10 wins by 19-plus points. That's crazy. So you got to give them love, especially with Michigan and how things are going, with the football team giving Harbaugh an extension and going until, that is crazy in of itself. Half the pay, cuz. They literally, talking about Michigan football real fast, Harbaugh took the deal, signed it, where they said, basically, you haven't done a good job. We're going to cut your pay. If you want to do something and make some money, earn it. And he took it. And Michigan, we talked about, I felt like they devalued the brand, reeks of desperation, and you kept a guy that has done nothing. And it really hit home, and that's why we put this on the sheet this week. You watched Alabama and you watched Ohio State do their thing, and I sat there and I was just like, wow. Michigan State, Michigan, Wisconsin, they're just doing their own thing, and they're in the B division, and Ohio State is just the class of the Big Ten, and it's not going to stop. It's really bad, too, because I look at it and you say, when you already know you can't be the best, what are you striving for? But Michigan State has built up with Mark D'Antonio, but you and I have bigger dreams. We can sit and say, well, we could take something and do something with it. You and I want to see Michigan and Michigan State sustain it. Michigan State rised up and had a couple good seasons for like 2-3 years, but they never won the big one. Ohio State has won it. They've sustained it. They've dominated people. Alabama, 7 national titles with Nick Saban. Clemson, constantly in the college football playoff. Unfortunately, it's sad that the teams in the Big Ten, and especially Michigan State, they're playing for second, and you're basically playing for a brief, fleeting moment of greatness. It'll happen, potentially. I think Mel Tucker might get there first before Jim Harbaugh. But unfortunately, you and I think the entire state of Michigan, we're pining for, can somebody come here like Nick Saban and just dominate, be number one, where it's just like, no problem. You lose, your top end guys, you bring in somebody else. I mean, Mac Jones is nothing special, and he's leading you to a national title. You get Devontae Smith, you lose one of your best players in Jalen Waddle, and boom, he's out there, not there, and you're still dominating. We want that. We want to see that for a good 7-year stretch. Michigan State gave us a nice rocky story, underdog situation, but unfortunately, with Ryan Day at Ohio State, it's just kind of like, oh man, you're playing for nothing.
It's rough, man. So here's the thing, right?
I don't see the avenue for wins. I don't see.
I don't either.
I don't see it.
That's the problem, right? So Ohio State was completely dismantled and manhandled by Alabama. Okay, and Ohio State was supposed to be the team that was going to challenge them and give them a run for their money. And some people were even betting on Ohio State winning that. And Ohio State looked completely outmatched. And you've seen what Ohio State did to Clemson. Could you imagine if Ohio State played Michigan this year? They wouldn't have hung 100. And I think the only reason they wouldn't have hung 100 was because they would have ran out of time. It'd have been something where they put up at least 75 or 80 points on that team. And the same thing with playing Michigan State. Like, Michigan State is not there either. But there is just, if you are a Michigan and you are a Michigan State fan, you have to get by Ohio State before you can even go play anybody else. And right now, I don't know how you do it. I don't see any way for you to beat Ohio State. Not now, not tomorrow, not in 5 years. I don't care what Jim Harbaugh does. I'm upset he's back. I'll put it out there. I don't care. I'm upset he's back.
Everybody is. Everybody. It's nothing new there.
I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know how he's going to reinvent the wheel or how he's going to make a football bounce his direction. I don't get it. All right. But what you have to do is you have to overcome Ohio State. And you just don't have enough. If you're Michigan State, you just don't have combined. If they were to merge and form Devastator, I don't know if they have enough to beat Ohio State. And that's the problem. On top of that, Ohio State was completely outmatched against Alabama, who just dismantled them. I don't know if you're looking to win a national championship. I don't know where it's coming. I don't know how you're getting there. I mean, I really would just like to win a Big Ten championship. I think that'd be cool. But again, you got to get through Ohio State to do it. So good freaking luck with that, because I don't know how it's happening.
How much do you have? How much hope do you have in the young freshman coming in that people are talking about? Is this all-world next quarterback? Is he the guy?
No, I mean, like, how many guys have been the guy?
Right,
like 9. Like since Harbaugh's been here, every guy every season has been the guy. You'll be in the middle of the season. You're like, oh my God, this guy's the guy. He's going to be the one. No, I have zero confidence. None. I don't know what the hell Jim's doing. I don't understand it. I'm so bewildered and frustrated by the entire situation. It makes no sense to me.
J.J. McCarthy, man, that's not the guy.
Bro, don't be surprised if Mel Tucker gets things rocketed and rolling at a much better clip than what Jim Harbaugh is doing. And Jim Harbaugh will be going into his 7th season now?
Okay, well, you got what you wanted. Don Brown's gone. Guess who's the new running backs coach, bro? It's Mike Hart.
Yeah, Mike Hart.
I think that might revitalize everything a little bit, too, because the next game's going to be bringing up that clip, little brother, little brother, little brother, that might help Mel Tucker. So we shall see. But yeah, it's fun, the in-state rivalry. But you and I are talking about big things. And is there anybody out there that could do that for either? I doubt it. And that's the sad part, is Nick Saban's just going to keep on rolling. Next year could go for number 8. They're going to retool. Alabama gets all the best players. Clemson gets all the best players. Ohio State gets all the best players. And Michigan and Michigan State are left to just try to build one team that can rise up and beat it. And you can do a defense, but when your quarterback for Michigan State is Rocky Lombardi and you're going up against Justin Fields, it's laughable. It's pure comedy at the highest level. It's like, I don't know. It'd be kind of like us podcasting and just never believing that anybody would download it in the 5 figures, or nobody would air it, or nobody would call in ever. And you realize, oh, the next show over is just going to get 1 million downloads and make all the money. You'd be like, we have no chance, no opportunity to grow. There's just someone dominating, and you have no room. It's deflating. When there's hope, at least there's something to play for. But Michigan State, it's not where it's at. And unfortunately, it's at basketball for Michigan. Michigan State's kind of like in a holding pattern athletic-wise, and it stinks. But as we get older, as we keep broadcasting, we're realizing that these teams are kind of middle of the road. And it sucks because you and I want to win. We want to feel that sensation of go for the top, go for the best, try to take something and move it along and do something. But when you see the ceilings there and your competition is that much better, and you're not making the changes, maybe Mel Tucker will compete. Maybe he can be the Mark D'Antonio and take it to the next level and get the wins in the playoff. But it seems like a far, far stretch because of the transfer portal. You don't play a kid and he's gone. Injuries, and it just seems like Ohio State, they get to have all the best talent, and maybe just simply stated, Ohio just produces a lot better talent than Michigan, and their corn-fed chicken and meat is just way bigger and better than ours. And when we go out to recruit, Ohio State's giving out maybe potentially a lot more benefits in some certain aspects than things going on in Michigan. You hate to say it, you hate to see it, but at least they got through the season. My closing argument will be this: for all those people that were freaking out and scared, nobody died, everybody played. I think that it was a lot of panic, and they figured out a way through it. Was it all herky-jerky? Absolutely. Was it chaotic? Could there have been things done much differently and much better? Absolutely. But you got the kids to play. They wanted to play. To see the joy on the kids, to see Alabama flexing and having a good time, celebrating with Nick Saban, who once coached at Michigan State, to see the joy that they felt to win, to compete. That's what sports is about. And I'm always of the belief that you can live your life with a lot of hope, or you could live your life worrying about a lot of fear. And I just choose to have hope. And the NFL season, we're plowing through the playoffs. Sports has carried on through the virus and everything. So thank God that they did. It's provided us a lot of entertainment, content, kept the sports train rolling. And thankfully, some lessons will be learned in regards to sports in the coronavirus age. But hopefully with the vaccine, 2020 ending and 2021 approaching, hopefully this next cycle of sports, I think the tournament in the NCAA might be at risk. Basketball might have some pauses. Hockey, it's going to be tough. I just think that without a bubble, it makes things a lot more challenging, but they're powering through. And these sports that came back, I'm glad they did. It provided great memory to sit down for a couple hours on a Monday night, to see two best teams go back and forth and have a high-scoring affair. That's what sports is about, and it was hopeful. I thought it provided at least some relief from the wild-ass life that has been going on away from sports, and I'm thankful that you and I are drawn to something that, produces sometimes heartache, but there's also some great storylines to follow as well. And hell, if we have to go to sports on a comedy channel, we'll do that as well. That's the beauty of sports, and that's why Adam and I broadcast each and every day, as much as possible, try to broadcast and podcast. All good, cuz? That was fun. Quick hour, man.
It was a quick hour, man. This was fun.
Yes, absolutely. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Make sure to peek into the practice squad on Fridays. Tune into the other shows that run each and every single day here on the network. And we're having fun, and that's the best part about sports. You have fun breaking down Detroit sports, all of them in a rebuild, but all of them trying their absolute best to get out of it. And we'll be here to follow along as we power through into episode 400 and beyond. It'll be a time of rebuild, regrowth, and hopefully at some point we can talk about the success that we had here in Detroit. Thanks, everybody. You've just listened to and downloaded the latest edition of Doc and Jock.